If you're a student, remember one question you always think of while your whole student career. How to get a better marks, how to get a good score in the exam. And we all know the importance of good score. Now probably you think a lot of time that you're preparing well and you're writing well in the exams. You don't kind of find out what is wrong with the answer script, but ultimately you end up with a very average score but not a good one, and few people you'll see considerably doing good in the exams. So if you have these questions in your mind, you need to watch this video, because I think I might have the answer to all of your questions. So stay tuned and watch this video to understand about how to score good marks in your next exam. And I'm not kidding, you are going to get benefits from this. So how to score good marks in the exam? Now, to understand that, first thing you should know what is the importance of scoring good marks. Now you can ask yourself, is it really necessary to get a good marks in the exam? Learning a topic is more necessary. Now obviously the second thing is necessary, that you should have a concrete knowledge of what you're learning. But our education system works in a fashion that will dictate and finally identify you based on your academic records, and that will check and track down all your scores and mark sheets throughout your school and college career. For that reason, no matter what you've learned and read, they will first check your grades and your score, your percentages in your past exams. For that, having a good percentage is always better in the education system that we have in India. So keeping that thing in mind, you know you have to score well in the exam. Because right now if you're in school, if you do a better marks in the school, you'll be selected for a good colleges. Because college will select you based on your cutoff marks. They will not check your knowledge, because there is, what are the way of checking a person's knowledge of a subject? Simply to take that person a test. So simply it will be based on a test again. And they will always go for your reputation in your previous academics, that is your earlier marks of the exams. That's why it's very important to have a good score. Now once that thing is clear in your mind, the second thought is there, how to achieve a good score. Now to answer this question, we have two different parts and two different fragments. One fragment to get a good score, the first part is pre-exam preparation, and the second part is the day of the exam. Both of these things consists of your better marks and scores in any exam that you are going to appear. Either you can be a student or a professional, you're going for any competitive exam, but these things are always true for all of you. First and most important thing that you should keep in your mind throughout your preparation time is keep yourself motivated to think of only one simple thing. You don't need to get 100%, you don't need to get 98% or 97%, but what you need to do is better than yourself the last time. So think of it as a game, like a present with a past. So past you and present you. And the game should be like a present you should beat the past you. Now if you keep this thing in your mind, let's say you scored only 50% in the last exam. Now this time your goal is not to achieve 99%. Your goal should be to achieve more than 50%. Now once you do it slowly and little step at a time, because you know in our schools and colleges there are not final exams, because even before the final exam there are also midterms and SEMs and other part breakdown exams out there. In those cases you can prepare in those midterm exams or pre-term exams, then the final exams. So before appearing to the final stage, you must practice it quite a time. That's the reason they keep all those midterm and pre-term exams. Now in those cases what you need to do, you need to score well in a pre-term, midterm, then you score a little better than after that, and then again in the final do much better. So competition is only with yourself. Do better than what you've done earlier. Okay, that is the idea you need to go for. So keep yourself motivated with that thought that if you score 70% in the last exam, in this exam you'll score 75 or 80, more than 70. So it's a competition of beating your past record. keep this thing in your mind, because this thing will obviously influence you to score and find out new ways to score better. As I told you, the part of the exam preparation is two-segment process: pre-exam and during the exam. Because think of exam as of your war. You are going for that at that day. You have to beat that. That's your enemy. So you have to know your enemy before appearing for any kind of war. So knowing exam is a very vital skill that you should have. And I'm pretty sure that many of you are making a mistake of not knowing your exam very well. You know, I have students always asking me different questions. What books to study for this? What books to study for this topic, that topic? They're thinking of all these things. They're gathering information, they're reading or even preparing based on that. But very few of them actually know about the exam. When I ask them few fundamental questions regarding the exam, they fail to answer. And I think this is a loophole between them and knowing the exam. Same thing happens for any exam you are going to prepare for. You should know the exam very well. You need to know what is the exam all about, what type of questions they provide, right? The structure of the exam, and how to answer those questions more accurately, more effectively, and how to manage time for that exam. So know exam before appearing and preparing for that exam. So making a mistake of not knowing in the exam and preparing for it, it will not at all help, because you will never know what kind of way you have to prepare. Because you know, for getting a good score, according to our education system, according to get good score, you don't need everything to read. In school and in even colleges, we have semester systems. And be true about yourself. In all the semester exams, do you read everything? Definitely not, because the semester's exam make you a bad habit of reading only few parts that are important and told by your respected teacher. They told that this is the part which is important for this year, so you only read that part 2-3 weeks before the exam and you appear for the exam, and you see you quite get a good score or a good percentile in your exams. Now the reason for that, the idea is to get good score. So if the idea is to get good marks and score, you should only follow the way to get good score. But the deep value of understanding of a topic or understanding of the subject, that should be clear in your mind. Obviously you need to get a good score, but besides that, you also need to learn that topic and know that topic. Now I can prove it a very easy way that even though you don't know the topic very much deeply, but still you can get a good decent score in the exam of our education system. So think of this idea while you are appearing for an exam. Think of the question papers so follow the last few years question papers, whether they ask more objective questions or descriptive questions, and prepare accordingly. That will definitely help to prepare. Another important topic is stick to the syllabus. Now, few people what they thought that they need to read a lot. So what they do actually, they not only go for the syllabus book but also go for reference books. And actually few people are so much fond of those reference books and start gathering all the informations and all those informations and Xerox, and the books are piling in the desk, but they're reading very less, and they're actually not reading the syllabus book at all. But that's another big mistake that you're doing if you're doing this. You need to stick to the syllabus book. You need to first complete the syllabus book. Now if you find yourself not satisfied with all the details provided in the syllabus book, then only go to the reference book. Syllabus book is the book which will be followed for the exam setters to ask questions from. So don't make a mistake of not going for syllabus book and only reading reference books. Another pre-exam preparation that we can go is solving previous year's papers. If you go for previous year's papers, you'll find like previous 10 years papers. It's available for any other competitive exams in the market. You will find at least 10 years papers in your hand, from where you can read, you can prepare based on the questions they have asked, type of questions. You can see a pattern of questions being asked. For example, here we guide students for CSI UGC NET exam, which is a complicated exam. Only 0.5% of the applicants qualify for that exam. Among 150,000, only 750 or 800 people qualify for that exam. Now, for a competitive exam that much difficult, the key to understand that exam is solve previous year's questions. because we can find a pattern. Even though the syllabus is complete biological sciences, but still, if you look at the syllabus and questions for last few years, you'll find the questions are being asked repeatedly from a specific region only. We call it as a heat map from where the questions being asked. So you can find a pattern, study all the question papers about which part of the topic are more important for the exam setters to ask question and which part is less important. So you can cover the more important part first, then we go to the next and later parts. Another very important pre-exam preparation is make yourself ready for answering the question. Not only reading will help, because the problem is what you have to do in the exam. You need to write in the exam, right? You don't need to read. Now what we have done throughout our preparation time, we read and read and read. We never write. So the experience of writing is 0, experience of reading 80%. What it will do? In the exam you need to write and you are very less experienced about it. So you fail. The better thing is read in moderate amount of time. Read 50%, write 50%. You will get a 50% of writing experience. While you are trying to appear in the exam, you already had that writing experience, and believe me, that writing experience will definitely help to boost your score, and you will see the difference. Try this and you will definitely see the difference. So prepare not only reading but along with that recalling stuff while writing, because while you write you recall stuff, and recalling things will ultimately help your memory to completely boost that up and turn it into a long-term storage, so you keep things remembered for a long period of time. Those were about the pre-preparation or pre-exam preparation. Now the second part, as I told you, is the day of the exam and the day before the exam. And actually study and surveys told us that the day before the exam accounts for 10% of all your marks. Believe it. And the day of the exam accounts for 90% of the marks, or say 80% of the marks. Rest of the preparation is required for that, though everything depends on that exam date. Now you can say, or you can argue that how can our education system evaluate someone's performance based on one day? And actually it's not logical to think. It should be repeated fragments of exams and tests that should be taken counted, and then average to get a score to understand a person's ability to answer questions and person's knowledge. But here most of the cases it judged based on one single day. Now it may happen you prepared well, you know things well, but what that single day your mind is not that much enthusiastic to answer about those questions and stuff. This may happen, though rare, but this may happen, and you are in immense pressure to think of all those questions and write them down in a proper way. That can sometimes destroys some good preparations as well. But it is very important to do everything right in the day of exam. So this is the second part of the video, and here I will tell you what to do and what not to do in the exam hall during the exam. So at the beginning, when you go to the exam hall, you know your friends are there, everybody is there and talking about different topics. They're talking about this questions can be there, that questions can be there, that question was there earlier so it's not going to be there. So no, this type of chit chats and talks are kind of distracting. It's a better way that you talk about other things, you talk about other ideas, not about the questions and papers and all these things. And another very bad habit of students is that carry notes and books and everything and start reading there in the exam hall. Now what you've done for the last 6 months, 1 year, that was the time for your preparation, and you think that this 2 hours of the exam is going to be the preparation time, you're making a huge mistake. And not only you're making a mistake of reading, because it will not help, but the second thing, if you start dumping so many things at the time of exam, the things that you learned earlier start to be erased, because it's like a memory, you know. For example, in the pen drive, if it's a 32 GB pen drive, there is a limit to the amount. So let's say you filled that amount before exam, you come there. Now during the exam, if you dump things over there, the earlier memories start erasing because there's not enough space. So don't ever do that. Whatever thing you learned till the last day of exam, do it, leave it. Don't carry any book, don't carry anything with yourselves there. Just carry the documents that we require for the exam. Be there in the exam, and don't involve in this chit chat about what questions will be there and not will be there. All these things, forget about that. Focus on the question paper. Focus on the environment. Think of what you are going to achieve after the exam that you have in your mind. That previous exam you scored 50, this exam you have to score 55 and 60. You need to go get away of that 50, over that 50. That should be in your mind instead of all those things and reading. Now the second part of the exam, the bell is already rang and there is a teacher and they handed you the question paper. So you get the question paper and you have the page to write, because normally in all the exams it is mandatory to provide question paper at least 10 to 15 minutes before. That's true. Now in some cases some teachers also don't understand that and don't provide that. That's a bad thing. If that thing is happening, you people told them that this is not a normal situation. The question setters always tell, give questions 15 minutes prior for them to read, because you need to again think of what questions are there, because there is a planning of answering the questions. Misplanning of answering a question can do a significant impact in your score, believe it, because it will impact your time management. It will also impact your guessing or judging of a score or of a question. And even though sometimes in some places they provide you question and answer scripts, it's not mandatory to start writing from the first question till the last. You can answer any questions in the middle. Just put the names and the numbers of the question correctly and you are okay to go. There is no mandatory thing of answering it from start to the end. Now it depends on what kind of questions you have. In a competitive exam, mostly you have multiple choice questions. In multiple choice questions, you have to think about each of the question and fill the OMR sheet. There's nothing to be written down. So for those type of exams, for handling multiple choice questions, the thing that you need to go for is to think of reading a question first, and think of first of all reading the whole question paper if it's possible in the limited amount of time. In that sense, if you read the questions, think of which questions you are going to answer first, which will answer later. Now the idea is those questions from the topics that you read and prepared well, try to answer them fast, and then you'll answer the rest complicated questions. Keep them for last, because at the beginning you have a lot of time. You see, let's say the exam is for 3 hours. You say 3 hours in my hand. I start with the confident questions that I can easily answer, so it will boost your confidence, and you can see some part is already done. 50% of questions are answered. Then keep those questions at the end which you are not sure about. Now those questions are difficult, but if you start with them, it will consume your time, and even though you can answer some of those questions, you are not going to end up with some good marks because your preparation is not well for the exam. So logic says go for easy questions first, then go for the tough questions later. But remember, during your preparation before the exam, start with difficult part preparation first, and then go to the small part and the easy part. But while the exam, start with the easy questions, then go to the difficult questions. Remember this opposite scheme while pre-exam and during the exam of preparation. Now if you have large questions, short, objective or descriptive questions where you have to write answers, in those case of questions there is a biasness, because if you answer something, some other teachers are going to check that, and that person has biasness. This person has biasness based on your handwriting. If you write things very well, that person will love that and give you some influential extra marks. But a person without even the person is writing good information but a bad handwriting will end up with less marks. So that is the reason most of the competitive exam these days based on the unbiased way of MCQ, which is all or none event. Either you're correct or wrong. Nothing is in the middle. But in the college and school level exams, there are written exams, large articles that you need to write down. In those case of exams, still there are two types of questions: short objective questions and descriptive questions. For the objective questions, again, you can't write much thing because if you know the answers, there's only 1-2 words answer. But for a descriptive question, you need to think of how to organize your answer. It's just like writing a book, isn't it? When you start reading a book, those books always are more interesting to read which carries pictures. For science, if I'm talking about, because I'm a person from science background, I see for science there are a lot of pictures required to explain things. And not only for science but other fields also. Schematics and short diagrams are always better for explaining yourself in less word, because the more word you write, the more time it will take. So less time, better way of constructing writing is make schematic diagrams, flow charts, tables, and put your understanding and knowledge in small compact form, that will obviously be very helpful for the reader of this writing, that is your teacher, the evaluator. When an evaluator, think of whenever you're writing an answer for a question, think of yourself evaluator. If you are an evaluator looking at that answer, will you be satisfied? If you're not, then obviously the evaluator is not going to be satisfied with that answer. It's not about the technical accuracy. Obviously you have to be technically accurate about your answers. You need to say things right, not wrong. If you say it wrong, then no matter how you represent it, it's wrong. But if you're right but represent it is a bad way, it's going to end up with 1 or 2 marks negative. But if you represent it in the best way, you'll get full marks of all the questions. You probably thought that you wrote those things right, you write those things correctly, perfectly in your colleges, but still end up with less marks compared to your friend. Your friend does not know much better than you. You know things better than that person. So why this thing? The answer for that, if you check the answer script of your friend, you will find out that your friend probably write things in a more lucid and compact way, using all those descriptive features, so that evaluators give him little edge in the benefit. Now in this case, what you need to do, you can take different colors to explain. Let's say black color for the headings, blue colors for the writings. Or we can do is simply you can take one color, but you underline the stuff. It will be less time consuming because changing the colors will be time consuming. But practice will give you a lot of effect of how to write these questions faster. But still, using the same color, underline the stuff, and also make points of each of the part. Break the paragraphs. Don't write one thing in a huge paragraph. You know, nobody likes to learn and read from a one dark paragraph like that long. If you see the long paragraph like that, you lose interest in reading. So it's better break the paragraphs down and also make different points of the paragraphs, then explain them there. That will be very beneficial for your marks, because evaluator will see each of the points, and actually evaluators most of the time don't read your question from A to Z, don't read your answer from A to Z. What they will do normally, they will find some important points in your question and answers. If they find those points, they'll give you full marks. They'll know that you know the answers. And actually most of the time in schools and colleges, the teachers appear and check our answer scripts are very familiar to us. So they know that they'll see your name and they know who are you and how you behave in the class. So those things also impact in the answer chain in the school and college. While for the competitive exam, while the whole India exams are there, all national exams are there, in those cases there's not a biasness, because the person probably check the answer script, never know your name. And also most of the cases it's not a person, it's a software that checks the answer script of NMR, like of OMR sheets of MCQ. Now while you are at the end point of your preparation, almost you done finishing the writing and answer scripts, that's kind of the end. Because think of your preparation, all your preparation you've done for 6 months or 1 year is for this day, for this 3 hours only. Now whatever thing happens in this 3 hours dictates your skills. So if you fail here, it doesn't matter what you've done in the last 1 year of preparation, you are failed. So remember this, everything you have done is for this hour. So don't waste any minute of that. I've seen people just leaving this exam hall like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes before. Don't try to do that. You have some extra time. If you finish it earlier, it's good for you, and actually it's required to finish it earlier. Once you finish it earlier, it's the time to check all your answers. And believe me, return checking will definitely give some of the benefits to you, because when you reverse and check your answers, you will find some answers that this answer I can modify a little bit, this part I should not write. Do these modifications. This is the editing. As I told you, writing the answers is like making a book. So once the book is written down completely, it's done, then we have a copy proof, or there's a proofreader to check that whole manuscript from the end. And obviously without this proofreading, if a book is published, you will find a lot of wrong and mistakes in the book. That's the same thing for your own page and answer script. If you check them, you'll find out some mistakes, tiny silly mistakes, but those mistakes can add up and can give you cost you 2 or 3, 5 marks. And that 5 marks added to 2 for different parts can gain you to a next level, because earlier due to that reason you get 50, but now 5 marks extra due to some revision only you get 55, and you are better now compared to the previous. So all this thing matters. So don't leave the exam room really fast. Even though the exam is over, stay there till the final bell is done. And once the bell is done, then everything is, you check all the answers, especially check the numbers of the answers and represented answers. If you put it wrong numbering, that will be a horrible mistake. Don't do that. And also check whether you answer all the questions, whether you miss any of the questions that is known to you or not. And try to think of, if we do all these things at the end, then only submit the answer paper. And it's obviously recommended that you submit it after the final bell rang. So that are the different ways that you can do during the exam that will help you. Now whatever discussion that you have with your friends, that you can do after the exam, it's nothing wrong there. And as the exam is over, you have a free time, then go and talk to all these things about. But before the exam, definitely not. So if you look at here, everyone is scoring more than 90% now. If I ask someone, what is your score? 98%. What's your score? 99%, 97%. This world right now is filled with huge number of marks. It's a marks crazy world. It doesn't matter how much score is going to get, but it should have a good score for you to qualify and get into a good college, a good university. And obviously if you're appearing for PhD and other entrance, you should have a base line of your marks. That will always be an added advantage. But obviously don't forget about the actual goal of all your education. That is to be educated, to be learned. So you are a learner and you want to know a topic, know very well, and a deep knowledge, and that is not always dictatable by your marks, though it's required for your career, but still you need to know well. So even though you're getting good marks is fine, but still try to complete the whole syllabus. Try to learn all the things that are listed so that you know about all those informations in your life. So don't cheat with yourselves here, because if you cheat with yourself, that is the biggest cheating of all. So that in a sense, all the different ways that can help you to prepare well. Be focused, stay focused, and don't forget what is your actual goal. That is, your present you should beat the past you. You should get good score and compete with yourself. Don't try to go for a huge jump of the marks, but if you follow all those informations and tips I told you, you are going to score a good marks. You're going to get a concrete way of understanding your marks and thinking of what you're going to get in the next time. So stay tuned and watch this video for more and more videos. Definitely subscribe to my channel. Share this video with your friends, because more and more self-help videos are coming. Thank you.